Welcome to the ID10T podcast number 1047. If you're going to be in the San Francisco area, the 27th through 29th of February, I'll be at the Punchline in San Francisco, and then the following weekend in Sacramento at the Punchline there. And then also, what else just went on sale? Oh, the Wilbur in Boston, I think that's April 3rd. Yes, that's April 3rd. And then the week before that is Portland at Helium, and then also Brea, California. It's tons of stuff. Do you know what? Just go to, you can go to wizardguitar.com because it's the Wizard Guitar Tour, and that will give you all the ticket links and info. So come on out to that. Let's talk about you, the ID10T community. Well, this is a special one because a handful of years ago, a gentleman emailed me and said, "Hey, I make these like zombie face phone cases, and they're super rad." So I went to his website, which was creepcase.com, and he makes this guy named John Fields. He makes them all by hand, and like he molds them by hand, and then makes them, and they're just these really special, incredible, like horror zombie themed phone cases. And so when we started selling stuff on ID10T.com, I was like, hey, maybe we could sell some of these. So we actually are carrying now the Creepcase phone cases. And I just wanted to give a special shout out to John, because he's been an incredibly nice guy, and he just, the artisanship of the zombie faces is so fantastic. His website is creepcase.com, or you can just go to ID10T and look from there. I know it sounds like an advertisement for us, but it's really, I just wanted to give a shout out for John, because he makes these cases, and I hope he continues to make them because they are spectacular. Just a real different kind of phone case. If you are a horror fan or a zombie fan, which I assume you might be one of those things if you listen to this podcast. So go check that out. Thanks again to John for being great and making those. This episode is Mr. Ben Schwartz, who is not only one of the funniest people you could ever meet, but also one of the nicest, just nice guy. Ben Schwartz, nice guy. He's in Sonic the Hedgehog. He is the voice of Sonic, which is in theaters Valentine's Day. And also, if you ever get a chance to see him live, he tours with Thomas Middleditch as Middleditch and Schwartz. And tickets can be found at middleditchandschwartz.com. It's a live long-form improv show, and they're playing huge venues. And so a couple of notes about this episode. Number one, he mentions that he and Thomas are doing a series of specials of they recorded these, and so they're going to start putting some out, and he couldn't announce it yet when we recorded this a couple months ago, but they are coming out on Netflix. So Middleditch and Schwartz coming out on Netflix, their improv specials, and it's a series of them. So definitely watch that. Also, just an error correction. Later in the podcast, he says, "When's this going up?" And I think I say March 11th. What I meant was around February 11th. But I said March because words are hard and months are hard to keep track of. So I said March. We talk about March, but it's actually going up now. It was always intended to go up now in advance of Sonic. So just ignore that. Or if you're hearing this after March, then forget about all this. Don't even worry about it. You're fine. So thank you again to Ben Schwartz for consistently being just a wonderful human being and someone that is so much fun to riff with and hang around. And I really, really had so much fun with this episode, number 1047 of the ID10T podcast with Mr. Ben Schwartz.
Initiating ID10T protocol.
Also, old turtles are they used to give them away in fucking cereal boxes.
Yeah, and I have some good. I have some good Batman animated series ones. I've got some He-Man ones.
Oh, that's great.
I put my whole collection up on a Pinterest board.
Oh, nice. So I can just look.
So I could just So you could just.
So me personally, you did it so I could personally
just
look.
for you, I put them
very,
up there
very
because
nice.
I know how much you love Pinterest.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I know
yeah,
that
yeah,
you
yeah.
love animation cells.
God.
Yeah. So I kind of went crazy, but my favorite, I did get. I got Bugs Bunnies from every director, so I have like a Bob Clampett,
Oh, that's
a Chuck
great.
Jones. I think I have a Fritz Freeling and a.
You
Bob
have so many
McKibson.
though that you will. I don't know what you do with it unless you make a museum or something.
I don't know either. Like the guy that I bought a lot of them from is Mike Van Eaton at Van Eaton Galleries, and
Yes.
he hosts all the Disney auctions,
Yes.
the big Disney auctions. And he was like, when he opened before he was doing auctions, of course, he just sold cells, and he goes, "Yeah, I was a collector, and then I just ended up opening a store because I had so many of them." But I feel bad because I have so many that no one is enjoying right now. But at the same time, I guess I sort of feel like, well, I guess I'll just be the one who is preserving these for now, and then maybe someday
they'll be on your floor.
Someone will see them. What do you have?
I have just those right now. I have like 8 or 10. I started collecting cells maybe 2.5 years ago, and I started with the Simpsons one, and then slowly started getting them. But it can become it's so easy to click on things and buy it, or you just go. It's almost like comic books because they put it up in those boxes, and you just finger through them like comic books. And
yep, I'll take this one. I'll take this one.
It's so dangerous.
And then the bummer. Well, the amazing thing about them is that it's legitimately a dead art form.
Yeah,
no one uses cells anymore.
Yeah,
and in fact, like Futurama is a show that we love.
Mm-hmm.
There are no Futurama cells. They may have done, and I don't think there are any South Parks either.
Oh, I wonder.
After they did the pilot or the first season or something, but I couldn't find any of those. And then Simpsons stopped using traditional cells.
Yes, but that's also what I know very little about art, and so when I would go to museums and stuff, I can always appreciate it, but I know so little about it. And I have such a connection with the cells because in my life I've seen them, and I've seen those episodes, like the Simpsons cells. I know exactly what episode they're from, and like for me to have a piece of it, for some reason it feels so. I love it so much.
It is a piece of history. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like if you said, "Oh my God, I'm such a fan of Mel Brooks. I'm going to buy his arm." You know what I mean? Because it's like it's a piece of physical history from something that
was shown on screen. That actual image was shown on screen.
Yeah, that was shown on screen, and to me, even the classic animation to me is the most incredible art form because like the original Disney's or the old Warner Brothers before they started making them for television before they realized they could make them cheaply in the 50s, 60s and 70s. Like when you think about how everything is a fucking work of art, like the backgrounds are done by these incredible landscape artists and then the foregrounds are done by these amazing cartoonists. And then they had these amazing, I think Carl Stalling, this amazing musician who did these symphonies for these, and like everything about it, every piece, I feel just like pulls from all these different disciplines.
Amazing.
Yeah,
there's I did a show called Randy Cunningham, Ninth Grade Ninja, and one of the directors there worked on The Simpsons and was animating. By the way, more than one of the directors there had done that, and he knew I was a big fan. And we had just wrapped 100 episodes, and the show was ending. It was on Disney XD, and I told him he knew how much I love The Simpsons. Simpsons to me were like one of the biggest influences in my life still. And so he's like, "Oh, what was your like favorite episode?" I was like, "Oh, I mean, like B Sharps is one of my favorite episodes." This, and I kept saying, he's like, "Oh, you know what? I could make a cell for you. I have all the stuff that we used to do when we used to make cells." And I go, "Oh my God, if you can put me in the B Sharps, that would be amazing." So he did it. He did a cell, and then he's like, "I haven't taken out that paintbrush. I haven't taken out any of those colors." And he did it. So there's a picture of me in my house with the B Sharps as an actual animated cell.
Incredible.
Yeah, that one's framed and everything.
And your first name starts with a B.
I know, it works perfectly.
So it kind of works perfectly. You could have been in the B Sharps.
Yeah.
I was watching, we've been kind of rifling. We always watch cartoons when we're falling asleep at night. Whether it's, Rick and Morty or American Dad or, so we were watching Simpsons because of Disney Plus. And the idea that Simpsons predicts everything is uncanny.
It's insane.
But I saw one that I thought was pretty good that I haven't seen anyone point out yet, which is it's when Homer gets the internet and he builds the web page and he becomes Mr. X, the guy who's like ratting out everyone in the town, and they send him, and then it becomes like a prisoner parody. But it's the idea that like when he runs out of news, he just starts making it up. I'm like, oh my God, that's totally what the internet
It's happening literally 24/7, 365 right now. It's crazy. I used to watch a Simpsons episode every night going to bed because anytime I watch something going to bed, if it's words that I know that I don't know, I pay attention. I can't go to sleep. But if it's something I've seen so many times,
yes.
I had all the DVDs, so I'd pop one in my computer. Remember when computers had DVDs in them?
God,
isn't that insane that we'd say remember DVDs? Remember DVDs?
Yeah, they had kind of a short run.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I would go in and I'd watch it because I knew it so well. It would be like a beautiful way to lull myself to sleep.
DVDs had like a 10-year run. It was like a solid 10 years.
I started to collect those too. Sorry. I started to collect those too where it's like, oh, I have this forever now. And then like streaming came out and I'm like, oh, I don't need any of these now.
I remember when I was a kid, my grandfather was a huge technophile and he got stuff way ahead of the curve. And he got a Laserdisc. Must have been like 1980, maybe, the Laserdisc players, like where they were,
they were not
the
out.
fucking plates, like they were the size of albums.
Oh my God, the one that people started buying in real life were until way later than 1980.
No, they were commercially available in the
Really?
early 80s, but they were the giant Laserdiscs. And he had like 4 or 5 movies that I just watched on repeat. It was like Smokey and the Bandit and Grease, and then a couple others. And then it seemed like, oh, this is going to be the future. And then Laserdiscs really just became like a film nerd thing because of the quality, and they started doing Criterion collections. Then he got a Betamax player, and then he thought that was going to be he kind of missed the boat on that. He was right. The quality was better.
He did them all. He literally did all the different levels.
He did all the different levels.
Yes.
Yeah. But now everything's digital. Does it bum you out to a degree that there are no Sonic cells for you from your movie, or?
I wish there are things that I could grab. Sonic sells from my movie. I don't know if that'll make as much sense.
It wouldn't make
'cause it's
any
live
sense.
action.
Yeah,
but I have been trying to hunt down. I'm sure you have Roger
Sonic
Rabbit ones.
Sonic is not live action. Sonic is CG.
Sonic is CG.
That's
exactly.
what I mean. Like I do have Roger Rabbits.
Do you? Yeah, that was one that I saw 1 or 2 of those that I was like, oh, it's so exciting because some of them are painted on actual things,
on photographs. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they put the layer on the.
Mm-hmm.
I have the one where Roger, like where Eddie Valiant kisses Roger.
Oh, come on!
I have that one and one other one that I can't remember.
Amazing.
I've got some Tron ones.
Oh my God!
That are in like a light box, so they light up, so you can see.
Oh, that's cool.
Dragon's Lair from the video game Dragon's Lair.
Sure, one of the hardest video games of all time.
Not once you figured out the pattern.
Okay.
There were specific patterns, and the boring thing about that game is that once you figured out the pattern,
the game's over.
Yeah, I mean that's it.
There was a game, I forget what it was called, that it was too expensive to play too much as a kid, but it's that hologram one where you're like a cowboy and you just press to the right or to the left and you like shoot someone. Do you know what I'm talking about? You have a split second to make a decision, and then like a wizard comes out of nowhere and but it's all like a hologram in front of you.
And is it like photographic type people?
It's like, it looks like it's a movie in front of you, but yes.
I don't remember what that's called.
It was so difficult, and it cost so much money as a little kid that you only had like 1 or 2 cracks at it, and it would get so you never got to beat. I never got to beat it. I would love to play that game again.
And it's funny to me now that games have evolved to the point where, like a quarter, quarters, that, then they became 50 cents. And then like the expensive were like, oh my God, $1. Then you would buy tokens. And then the tokens was sort of like Vegas where you kind of don't even realize how much money you're spending because they're tricking you.
Yes.
And then you have to spend them there. But
now there's a card where you don't even think. You just swipe.
You just swipe it, just like take the money part away. But the craziest thing to me is like when video games first started coming out, they've always been $60 to $100.
Right.
But the big fucking crazy thing is basically like freemium, where you think we used to think $60 was a lot to spend on a video game. Now people will spend hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars playing freemium games over their lifespan.
Isn't it insane?
Yeah. So
I just did something for Fortnite. Have you ever played Fortnite?
I haven't played Fortnite because I know what will happen if I do.
Yes, it'd be over.
Yes.
It'd be game over.
Yes.
But this guy, Donald Mustard, and a couple of people over there helped develop it, and I did something for Star Wars with JJ for them, like this event that was like in the game, a promo, and it blew my mind. I was so taken aback by how incredible the whole thing was. Do you know about what it was at all or no?
So, I know there was I remember seeing in my like news feed because obviously your news feed gets in your head.
Right.
But I saw the articles about like the Star Wars integration into Fortnite. But I don't know
I'll
what
make it
was.
really quick. We don't need to plug Fortnite. They're doing great.
They're okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. They made like
right.
$1.8 billion. Oh, but one of the things that the Don Mustard guy said, because I didn't know anything about the game, and so the person that teaches me about the game is the person that's really helping to run it, is that he's like, you can't buy anything that makes you better than other people. Like, you can't buy like a weapon or something like that that'll make you, but you can have different skins and you can have all these things.
Right.
So he goes, that way, if you have no money or if you have all the money, you're on the same playing field no matter skill.
So that is, first of all, very kind.
I believe that's what he said. And maybe people who play Fortnite listening to this will know more than I do. It's so kind and it's cool. But so what he did, what I thought was so Ready Player One-ish that it blew my mind, was he said, okay, what's going to happen is we've been telling people for the last week there's a Star Wars event. This time you come to where there's like this little light sphere coming up, right? The spire, if you will, coming up. And then when you get there this time, something's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And I was like, oh, man, I wish I was playing this game. This would blow my mind. So you're there and all these people are waiting, right, for something to happen. The time comes. JJ and I both have microphones on. This is live. We're live. And they created a skin of JJ. So of the Millennium Falcon comes out of nowhere, right, the first time ever in this game. And then it's starting to get fired at, right, by ties or whatever. And then it lands. And then a host comes out, the same gentleman who hosts the Video Game Awards. And then I came out as Stormtrooper FN 143, FN I love you. And then JJ comes out. And we're all talking live in the game. Sorry, can I curse or no?
Yeah, of course.
In the effing game, we're talking live.
Say it.
In the farting game, we're talking live. And it's insane because we're doing this and people in front of us are controlling our characters, so they're emoting anything we're kind of saying. So if I'm like talking or whatever, and we talk with each other, and then JJ's like, and then they tell the audience, they're like, okay, what's your favorite this? And there's like different places you can stand on the map where you vote. Mm-hmm. And then JJ's like, all right, let's show a clip of the movie. And then people look up towards the sky, and he put an exclusive clip from the movie that nobody's seen before in the sky of Fortnite.
Oh, that's
within the video game, there was a video.
Insane.
And it blew my mind. And then before you leave, they go, what's your favorite color lightsaber? Everybody picks. And then the Emperor comes, and we all leave. We run and go away. And then in the thing, and if you know JJ, he loves this, there's like a little mystery box on the stage. If nobody touches it, that's it. But if someone goes on stage and opens it, everybody gets lightsabers. And it's a huge lightsaber war. And it just blew my mind because he's like creating a narrative in there and everybody got to play it and it was super fun and you saw people go nuts and crazy. It just absolutely blew my mind because then you think of what else you can do in that video game. If I can talk live to people, you could do like comedy shows. You could do this. It becomes... It blew my mind how creative and amazing that was.
It was sort of like what, like you could see what Sims sort of started, and then Second Life, and then and then Minecraft, and it just feels like the next evolution.
Yes,
because it's also like also a competitive game on top of that.
Yeah. Again,
Simpsons episode where Homer does the live action animated dog. And then
for Poochie or for what?
No. It's the one where he buys stock in a company. I got like he goes. They put this mocap suit on him, and then he's this dog animated on stage.
Amazing.
And then he goes into the bathroom and starts.
You see him pee and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So again, Simpsons totally called all of it.
Yeah, I know.
All of it.
What are we even doing here? They call this podcast. Season 17.
Podcast is the only thing they never suck at.
That's true.
The only thing they never suck at.
The radio medium was over for them. They couldn't see it from a mile away.
There's so much, Ben, so much that you were involved in that is so wonderful.
Because you have no notes. You don't even look at notes.
No, I just talk to people.
Oh, I love it.
Like it's a conversation.
It's very exciting. Although you have a Hyrule binder right in front of you.
I do. This is the guest book.
Oh, okay.
So there have been 3 guest book. The first 2 filled up. The first one was a Wookiee. The first one...
Wookiee... Does it make a noise?
No. These are the guest books that we've had so far. So this is the Chewbacca notebook.
Beautiful.
And this was a bunch of guests signed it until it filled up. And then this was the second one, was the handbook for the recently deceased.
Amazing.
Then that one filled up.
And now we're on Hyrule.
Now we're on Hyrule, and that's almost full. And so the 4th book that I ordered is a little Necronomicon from Evil Dead. So
Amazing.
it's got like It's just got the leathery face on
Amazing.
it. So, it's right here. It's right here. Yeah. So, which is great for an audio podcast. I should probably
I hope you guys really enjoy
pictures
it.
of those.
We'll
So
really describe them as books, basically, is what we said.
people really understand. But you're involved in so many. Oh, yeah. To go back to what you said. Yeah, I don't plan what to talk about because then, if you do, then you're not listening. You're not engaged in the conversation.
That's improv. What you're doing.
It's just like improv.
It's
Ben.
literally what it is.
And the podcast has actually taught me to be a better listener.
I bet.
Than I used to be.
I bet. Improv has done the same thing for me.
And where did you start doing improv?
I started doing improv. In college I did short form, which is like little games and stuff like
Right.
that. So I did that when I was a junior in college. And I didn't want to audition because my friend said I was funny, but I thought if I auditioned and I didn't get it, it would destroy me because then it would mean that the people that were funny in college didn't think I was funny.
That's right.
And then I had nothing. Then I would have nothing to identify with.
Well, you've just described like the business.
Yeah, by the way, you're absolutely correct. And by the way, that's in writing too. You write something and you think it's funny. It's so nerve-wracking to give it to somebody else.
Right.
You're like, this is what I think is great. What do you think?
Right.
It's terrifying.
Well, because the audience in your head isn't always right.
No.
Sometimes I'm suspicious of things that I write that I think are too funny because then I go, oh, this is too inside my own head. No one else is going to get
Although
this.
if you get it, there's somebody else that'll connect to it.
May not be the person you give the script to, though.
Might not be the person who wants to give you money to. Right. But there's somebody that's going to like that.
But you're very sweet because when I was in Italy, when Liddy and I were in Italy last summer, this really nice comedy fella sent me a message on Instagram. His name's Frank Matano, and he is a comedian. And,
right, I remember this.
And he hosts. He's one of the judges of Italy's Got Talent. And he's a really sweet guy, but he lived in the States for a while, so he's bilingual and I speak Italian, so he speaks English, and so we met up and bonded, and he was talking to me about improv, and I was asking you questions on his behalf.
Oh, you're right.
About the improv shows. I was texting you from Rome.
That's insane.
And he was so delighted that because obviously he knew who you were and was a fan of yours, and so it was very kind of you.
I had no idea that he was a judge on Italy's Got
Talent.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
IGT.
Oh, the IGT?
The IGT.
Holy crap.
Italy's got some talent.
Oh, so you do a spot on Italian accent?
Well, this is how we speak the Italian.
Oh, my goodness, sure. What are you eating right there? You're cooking something. I can't see.
Eating the pizza.
Are you eating the pizza?
Sì, the
Okay.
pizza.
See the pizza?
Rolled in the pasta.
Okay, very nice. Any other things that you would Tiramisu for dessert, sure. Okay. Do you drink any alcohol or no?
No, but if I did, it would be the
Vino. Okay, great. Okay, great. Lovely. Lovely to meet you, sir.
Acqua.
What part of Italy are you from?
All parts.
All
I'm
parts?
part Italy.
Okay, so like Rome and Tuscany.
Yes, my
and...
mother, the birth started in Rome.
Oh.
And she was on a train, and so
She
I
couldn't
was
get off.
Born, yes.
Your head was born in
Sì,
Rome,
my
your
head,
shoulders were in
my
Tuscany.
limbs are- yes, see, my
Yes.
feet in Venice, so they're very wet.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
But,
Very interesting.
you know, it's good to be here.
It's good. So, and I hate to interrupt you. So basically, most of your body was born on a train. Then you went to some sort of boat in Venice.
Sea.
And then you sea. Okay, and that's yes in Italy.
No, I went to sea.
Oh, you went to the sea. Okay, and while you're in the sea, the rest of your body was kind of born.
Yes,
Unbelievable.
exactly.
I think that, and I haven't seen the film, but I think that's what happens in Aquaman. Isn't that how he gets his power? It's either sea or Aquaman. It's one of the things that
it's
he's in.
Aquaman. I think
Aquaman.
it's
Jason
Aquaman.
Momoa. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Unbelievable. I went to Italy once. I went to Rome. Oh, not once. And I loved it so much. I was only supposed to stay for 1 day or 2 days. And I stayed another night. And I just loved walking. I remember I had these earpods and whatever they're called. And I would just walk because it's insane. I'm listening to like soul music that I always listen to when I'm here. And I'm walking around. But then it's like these pieces of art that are buildings that have been standing there for years, and you cannot believe you're just walking around them.
It is crazy, and when you see, I mean, there's stratified history there. There's two levels of insane history that is already like centuries older than America's colonial history, but you look at buildings, you're like, oh, that was built in the 1500s. And you go, yeah, and if you look down that little shaft down there, that you can see the original Roman road that's actually 2,000 years old.
It's insane.
And in that building is John the Baptist's head. I mean, it's like fucking, it's so crazy. You just like, we don't have a frame of reference for it as Americans because it's just not. Like,
it's beautiful.
It's really, really beautiful.
I loved it. Just walking around was amazing.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you know, there's a reason Clooney spends his time in Italy because it's a romantic place.
There's a lot of the reason why he does those Nespresso commercials over there. He loves it over
They're probably
there.
paid for.
Yeah.
They're probably paid for his Lake Cuomo.
I think so.
Compound.
Yeah.
Just the Nespresso ads.
It has to be, right?
Is there a place that you like to go? Do you vacation anywhere that you enjoy?
I like to go to Europe because I don't know much, but work has taken me to Europe, so I feel comfortable there every now and then. Work has taken me to London quite a few times, and then Paris a couple times, so I've been able to go over there, but I still haven't done like the big ones. Like I've never done Hawaii, like the version of America. Like I haven't done that yet. And I haven't done Japan, which I know you love Japan.
Love it.
I've seen robot videos of yours from Japan from years of travels of yours.
As a Disney fan that you are,
I know.
There are 2 Disneylands there. So
Oh, I know. By the way, have you seen? Of course you have. Have you seen the Imagineering documentary on?
the Disney Plus?
It was.
You'd think I'd seen it, and I haven't seen it yet.
It is spectacular. It was the first thing I watched when I got Disney Plus, and it is amazing. It ends with a spoiler of Rise of the Resistance ride or whatever. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch the end because I want to be.
You want to be surprised, yeah.
But it was great. I'm such a nerd for those parks, and I don't know exactly. It's hard to describe it outside of when I'm there. I just feel like a kid, and it feels like you've totally escaped. And I think as a kid, I didn't get to go very often. I think I went once or twice, and I was afraid of going on the rides. And now it's like open to me. And then because I've done a lot of Disney stuff, once a year I get this guide, which you know about,
Yep.
which changes everything. And then I get to bring friends in that have never been and watch them go through that experience. And it's one of my
You
greatest
get to
joys.
watch their theme park experience being ruined for the rest of their
the rest
lives
of their
because they
lives.
get to skip the lines,
It
and
is,
then
yeah.
the next time they go to the park, like, oh my god,
It is crazy.
this is why people come to these parks for like a week at a time, because it can take that long
It's
to get
the
through
ultimate
everything.
luxury. But I've only been to Disneyland. Disney. That's the only one I've been to because that's right where we live. Disney World I went to once when I was a kid, but I was too scared to get on Space Mountain. We waited on the line, and then I was too scared to get on, so I left. And then my mom was like, "Well, Ben's not going. I'm not going." And then my sister really wanted to go, and my dad's like, "All right, then I'm not going either." And then my sister's like, "What the fuck, guys?" And she was the only
she
one
got
that has
shafted
balls in
'cause
the
you
whole
guys-
family. Yeah. So when she has wonderful twins, her and her husband Jeremy, I brought them all over and my family, and I took them to Disneyland, and we did everything that she didn't get to do.
What's your favorite ride?
My favorite ride?
Yeah.
It's this.
Haunted Mansion. Us
But
too.
I love Indiana Jones.
Yep.
And I got to go on Indiana Jones with Tony Baxter. Am I saying that gentleman's name right? I believe I am. The gentleman who created that and Space Tours and stuff like that.
Star Tours?
Yeah, Star Tours. Sorry.
Yeah.
Star Tours. And he helped do Splash Mountain. Is it Tony Baxter? I feel like it is. It is, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I was there for when they opened up Galaxy's Edge. And randomly just happened to be there when Jet Lucas was there, who's George Lucas's son, who's a great dude. And Tony, I guess, knew him. And so Tony's like, oh, I'll just hang out with you guys. And he has created some of the most... He's in the Imagineering documentary. When you see it, you lose your mind.
Now, I'm so glad they did that because a while ago I pitched to Disney Plus when they were gearing up for it. Like, oh, I really want to host like the Wonderful World of Disney like we used to watch on Sunday nights.
Loved
but do
it.
all the behind-the-scenes Imagineering stuff. And they're like, we're already doing that.
Yes.
So,
You're gonna,
thanks, but no.
I can't believe you haven't watched it.
I keep forgetting it's there because we are in an era of... I mean, we are in a gluttonous media consumption era where there's just so fucking much of everything
much.
to watch all the time.
So what do you think happens? I've had this conversation recently because I'm currently in 3 things on Netflix, 1 thing on Disney Plus, 1 thing on Hulu. But like and so my question is what happens right now? I think also will be written about in entertainment books, not the history books, but that there was like we had our channels, then we had cable. Then we had, like the advancement of what cable is, then a little bit of streaming, and now we're in it. This is the war right now to see if this is going to be a thing.
Well, not only that, so not only is there a glut of like professional big media, but technically social media has turned every human being into a broadcaster.
Yes.
So
With power.
So like you could literally be just programming for one other person in theory as a social media broadcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if there's 1 or 2 people following your thing, then you're just programming for like 1 or 2. So there's just so much of everything. I don't know. I mean, ultimately, we are burdened by infinite choice right now, and I think people do want simplicity. So as cable starts to break apart, it will recoalesce in some like
Yes.
something's going to have to happen where it's like okay, I don't want to fucking have to subscribe to
There's gonna be bundles
HBO
again.
Max, Disney Plus, this, that. So just like, I want to basically a reimagining of what cable was.
That's exactly what's going to
I'll
happen.
pay one thing, and then I will just get all of those
And
things.
I think as these bigger companies start buying, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see that some of these are going to drop out. I don't know which ones, but like out of all these different streaming things that are coming out, and I think then people are just going to buy the properties from those, absorb the properties. Let's say there's a kick-ass TV show on this, but that streaming service is going down.
Yeah.
This streaming service will pick up the rights to that. That's how they'll recoup their money so they don't totally go bankrupt.
Absolutely.
And
It's
then there'll
all
be another 5 or they'll just be like, a smaller amount of them with all the content.
the next like 1 to 3 years will be very telling about. I mean, I feel like there's so much, even though it feels like there's a lot of content being made in the business right now. If you are if you make television, it's a very odd time because a lot of places still don't entirely know what they're going to be doing in a year, if they're going to be around,
Yeah,
what
dude.
types of things they're going to be
I
making.
agree. And they're putting so much money in right now. They're making huge risks.
Yeah.
These companies are taking enormous monetary risks.
You have to be. I feel like you have to kind of be Disney at this point
Yep.
to really make it work. To be spending that much money because they're small startup companies and they're spending so much, and it's like, well, how are they going to recoup this? Because subscribers might subscribe for a month. But then they might bail once they see the thing that they wanted to
Yeah.
see, and then resubscribe later, or pirate stuff. I don't
If
know.
you were starting out now, how would you change your? Let's say you were not established at all.
Yeah.
And let's say you were doing stand up, but I guess you were doing singled out at the very beginning.
In the very beginning, yeah.
So let's say you were just doing stand up, so
Yeah.
you didn't have that platform yet.
Yeah.
How would you utilize? How would you utilize the platforms you have now? Because you talk about you can have an audience of one.
Yeah.
To get your career out there, stuff like that. Because my path would have been similar in how I did it, but using different platforms.
Right now, I think I would triple down on Instagram TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Instagram TV.
Instagram TV, which is the longer form content, because you can build channel streams with an Instagram TV, and so I would be putting up daily comedy content. I mean, if I were younger, it depends. If I were starting out now at my age, probably Instagram TV. If I were
TikTok?
18 or 19, I would do TikTok. But I don't know. The thing about TikTok is that it feels to me and I might be wrong. I apologize if anything that I'm saying is offensive to any content creators. But to me, TikTok feels like the spiritual successor to Vine.
Right.
And there's a very specific language in TikTok that I almost feel too old to be a part of. Almost like an old guy, hey, what are you kids TikToking over there?
Right.
And so what I don't know is if, yes, you can have, 10 million followers on TikTok and all your videos get millions and millions of views. Will those people put on shoes and come see you at a venue? I don't know. Because what I have noticed is that a lot of times audiences do not cross platforms. Not
That's
always,
interesting.
but sometimes. YouTube audiences tend to stay on YouTube. I feel like
yeah.
Instagram, unless the creators were good at cultivating a multifaceted, but often to port, not always, but often to port one audience. If you're a big YouTuber, it can still be difficult to get eyes on television or on Instagram
Yeah.
or on this or on that, because each one is kind of its own planet with its own indigenous language. And I feel like those users, so I don't know, you could be a TikTok star, but if you wanted to be a live touring act, would that necessarily mean that audience would come see you live? And the answer is,
wonder.
I don't know.
Right.
But I would probably, and I probably should post more stand-up stuff on Instagram, but I just get really self-conscious about it.
I have, by the way, all my old jokes. I don't know where the hell those are. I don't know what they're, because they're all supposed to be rejected anyway. But I did I'm in this show on Netflix called Space Force. And
Yes,
a piece of it.
The big space. That's a fucking big show.
It is. It's a big one, which is funny because
Steve
just as you
Carell.
say, it's so much so much content is coming out. A question I ask sometimes is just well, how do you stand out? How do you care? In this show, I don't have to do anything. The show is Steve Carell, John Malkovich. I, as a nerdy comedian, if I wasn't on the show, I would be watching.
It's Greg Daniels too, right?
Greg Daniels created it. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's great. And it's really funny, and it's based off of a real thing that's happening in real time. The Space Force, it's literally being... They posted their camos, their real camos, and we, of course, on our show have camos. And so Greg emailed us. He's like, "We're going to post our camos." And I was like, "That's amazing." And their camos are a camouflage, whatever. But the joke of our show is that our camos are craters of the moon.
Yep.
So it looks like blue craters of the moon, and we look. It's the people who wear them in the show look absolutely. It's lunacy. And so we posted ours. So it's happening in real time while we're editing. It's such an interesting thing that the show is covering something that's happening in real life while you're watching the show. It's a very crazy thing. But so I did TikTok as like a little promo thing. I did some fun little promo stuff for Netflix with TikTok, and I'd never seen it before. And so they introduced me to it. And what I noticed from it, first of all, one is that there's a lot of funny fucking people out there.
Really funny.
And people that may have always been funny, like people that may have always been funny now have a platform. But also, as an improviser, it's a game. Like, let's say there's a game of a scene. That's what we call it. Do you know that term?
Yeah. It's a UCB term. Like, you're basically, if I understand it correctly, it's the moment that everyone sort of collectively recognizes, like, for lack of a better term, like, what is the angle on this scene?
That's correct. So even let's say the bit that you just did with being from Italy, right? So it's like, you're playing it like in this Italian accent, and then literally anytime I could try to alley-oop you to say something that makes you even more stereotypically Italian, we're hitting that game. So one of the biggest things in improv is, I don't know why I'm saying this right now.
This is great. I love.
Sure?
Absolutely, because I think I am a person that thinks that. I just
came back from a show. Yes, I just landed to do this podcast, but I just had 2 shows in San Francisco, but 12 hours.
And I want to talk about your improv shows, but improv is something that I think any creative person should at least look into, because of there's so much that you get out of it that's not just doing improv games.
It's helped me in writing. It's helped me in, but one of the things is you play that game, and the idea is you're not supposed to like go pop pop. You're not supposed. Let's say it's a ping pong match. A teacher of mine, Billy Merritt, once said, think about it as a ping pong match where you're going back and forth and back and forth. If you're hitting the game really hard over and over again, you're never gonna. It's
a rally.
Yes, you have to be listening. Improv is all about listening and playing back and forth, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go boop boop boop. But so. What it is, what's interesting is that people know this. They're essentially doing that, and that it'd be like a bit that happens on TikTok, and then everybody's kind of copycatting it in their own way. Or it's like, something happens, and it's like, again, I know I know nothing. I don't have TikTok yet. I'm just learning about it now. But something would happen, and then literally the next video is someone, making fun of what just happened, and then the next video is someone pretending to be the point of view of a light bulb while that thing is happening.
Yeah.
And you just keep swiping, and it tells like. It's the same joke from like 40 different people.
It's like the first 20 responses on a Reddit thread.
Exactly.
Where it's like
it's exactly right.
Yeah,
it's like the funny commenters.
It's like a moving visual version of a comment thread where everyone is having a conversation.
Yes.
And TikTok definitely seemed to be it was lip sync based and then kind of joke based, where there'd be some joke reveal at the end, and so. But I feel like with TikTok, it's too sort of like what with Vine or even early YouTube, that anyone who's very established or like a big company, that people are almost a little suspicious of it, because it's supposed to feel like.
What's the company? Is it Facebook or something?
No. I mean like a big media company like getting on to TikTok or like big celebrities, because it's like. It almost feels like it's supposed to be for like everyone, and the less professional it is, the more authentic it is. Yeah, because people are just fucking around and no one's trying to.
That's like UCB at the beginning. If you remember UCB in New York at the beginning, it was like called the CBGBs of comedy, and like it was underground. We were underground of fucking Gristedes.
Oh yeah,
there was 120 people max, and you'd line the
two giant fucking posts on the stage.
Dude, and I was an intern. I had to and there's bags
and
of
it would
shit.
leak.
Yes, I worked there. I was the person to clean all that stuff. I did the garbage, and it was like, and it felt so cool. And all the funniest people in the world would come down there and perform for free, and it just felt so cool. And then, as anything gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and so many people, it changes the vibe a little bit. But I remember that at the beginning of UCB, man, in New York, it was, I literally, every time I went to intern, I thought I was going to the funniest and coolest place I've ever been in my life.
Right.
And I got better at all my skills in comedy because I just got to watch those people before they, became huge, whatever.
And that's what's great too about TikTok in particular, is that you're basically watching a bunch of people interpret an idea, and you're watching it evolve quickly, and you're watching people use it in ways that, like, I watched this dude who I can't remember the name of it. It's like his dog's name is Penny or something, and he just does his dog's voice. So you see the dog, and the dog is like barking and stuff, but he adds like a yup, nope. And it's just so simple, but it's so well done. And it's like, oh my God, everyone has figured out how to express their own comedy voice in a way that is, when we were growing up, would have been impossible. Like, we were growing up, like, where you have to get a video camera, and then you're going to have to edit, and you have the tape, and then you're going to have to get 2 tape deck machines, and then and how do you, it would have cost thousands and thousands, and then what do you do with it once you make it? You'd have to
put it on YouTube and hope anybody looks at it, and how do you get anybody to care about anything you do?
This is even pre-YouTube, when I was like, how would you? And so there's literally no excuse anymore for anyone who wants to be a performer to not just. So when you ask what I would do, I would just make content every single day. It doesn't matter. You don't have to knock it out of the park every time, because if it's not great, then it doesn't, algorithmically, it doesn't spread and no one sees it. And then you just keep at it and keep at it, and the consistency. Because I feel like when we were growing up, it was all about the comedy album being the great landmark. And now, especially because of podcasts like this, content is so ubiquitous and plentiful that like a special doesn't necessarily, it's like a nice landmark in a way, but it's a mile marker. You just drive right past it.
It's, by the way, it's so fun. So Middleditch and Schwartz has 3 comedy specials coming out.
Do you do them all at once?
We did them all at once, which was maybe a mistake because it's an hour and a half of improv each. And
oh my gosh.
We did 4 shows and we cut 1, and you don't edit them together. Whatever happens in the show. So I don't know if you ever come to our show, but we taught, you should come to your show. Please, you and your wife come to the show. But we basically go to the audience, and for these set of specials, the question we ask is, what are you looking forward to? What are you dreading? Because that's what we kind of do. And we talk to someone, have a real conversation with someone for 5 minutes. Then nobody talks about the thing. And then for an hour and 10 minutes, Thomas and I make up an entire show, almost like a play type thing off of that. So one show can't be edited with another show, because this is that story.
It doesn't make sense.
Right. So basically for this streaming service, which we're not allowed to announce yet because they'll have a big announcement thing, but it'll be coming out hopefully soon, but we're editing them now. But it was very nerve-wracking because it's like, all right, you have 4 shows. You got to keep 3 of them. I believe that's what we're going to air. I believe, I'm not sure. So what happens if you have 4 bad shows, or you know what I mean? Or if you have a show that you want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure on performing. So, and also it's the first time we're performing in front of cameras. So the first show automatically is weird because as improvisers, you find the unusual thing, and the unusual thing is everywhere we look, there's cranes and stuff like that. So we had to get used to that, and it's in front of
and that's an extra pressure too. At least when you're doing a show live, you feel looser because you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, not everything is going to kill, but you know what? It's just for us, and it's an experience. And once you put, especially comedy, especially like a comedy with a live audience, when people watch it on a medium, they are instantly like out of the energy of the room.
Yeah.
So it changes the dynamic of the comedy show.
So imagine that being for. I'm really pleased how it came out, but
well, you guys are like 2 of the best improvisers.
Well, you're
in the world,
you're very kind. But even think. I mean, although I forget. I must listen to a podcast of yours where you were talking about how long it would take you to generate material for you to do a special, and I remember your amount of time was pretty quick. You're pretty quick at that. I remember. No.
Well, I feel like. I feel like I rushed my last 2 specials because
maybe that's why it took so great.
And now I am approaching this next one, which I still like I'm a year away from shooting. Is I write for like 2 hours every morning at breakfast, and I just I just look at the same, like I'm in the spot now where I'm not writing anything new.
Yeah.
I'm just retooling and shaving and
Yeah. But so
that's what's great about your improv is that like you do it and it's done. You don't have to think about it.
But also, it's like for you, you will work on a piece of you work on your set for let's say 6 months or a year or whatever, and then you've tried it over. You've done these jokes 1 million times. You know exactly where to where your pauses are. You know where to hit the audience, stuff like that. Then when you're filming it, it's still a lot of pressure, but you're doing your material that works and you're proud of. We have no idea what our show's even going to be about. So we can get a suggestion that's really sad. Like one of the first suggestions was kind of sad for a show we just did. And it's like, but we're pretty good at like when we hear the first thing, we just do it because that's kind of, you say yes and whatever it is. Unless it's a show we've heard a lot of times. So it's crazy. If someone's like, I remember we had a suggestion once that it was like, I'm doing something. I'm like hooking up with this girl, but she's married, but the guy has cancer or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck are we? And like sometimes you find the really fun stuff in the darkness, and sometimes you got to weed your way and find like whatever. But we have no idea what the shows are going to be. So the added pressure is that for each one of those shows, whatever it is what's going to be on screen forever. Because we get 4 shots, we're airing 3 of them. So it's not going to be, none of them are going to be the best show we've ever done, and none of them are going to be tried material or characters we've ever done.
Right, but
we just hope that our skills are such that we can handle whatever's thrown at us and that people will enjoy what we're doing. And also, our biggest goal is that the people love the people, because a lot of people haven't even seen long form improv. We have to explain what it is at the beginning of every show.
Right.
So we're hoping that people are like, oh shit, this is crazy. They're making it up and they're pretty good at it.
And that dynamic, by the way, creates a whole other agreement with the audience where, because improv to me is basically like a magic trick. Right, like it's that tightrope where you're like, oh my god, are they going to fall? Oh my, and when they don't, and when you don't. But I would argue that yes, you do make it up on the spot. But I think the misconception about improv is like, oh, whatever, you just make shit up and shit. Anyone can do it. And it's like, but you have so many years of training. So you and Middleditch have these incredible machines in place. That will crank out these perfectly formed hay bales of comedy because you trust each other and you know each other.
Yeah.
And you know that, like, oh, if I start to fall, the other guy is going to be able to,
exactly
and then I'll catch him, and then and that acrobat, it's really an acrobatic act that you it's built on trust and experience, and you guys you've worked very hard to get to that place to make it look effortless, so that the best art, you can't see the lines.
I just did a movie with Billy Crystal, and the line he told me anytime he talked about anything, I listened because I'm a huge fan of his, but he said one of the biggest things in comedy is like never let him see you work, never let us see you working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just put in your work before we get on stage, and then when we're performing or when we're on camera, do your thing. Don't let him see like the whatever. And I think that's exactly right. I've been doing improv for almost 20 years now. And Thomas and I together have probably been doing shit for 10 years on and off, you know what I mean? And then I moved to LA, and then he came. And you're right, we have it's also, you find those partners that it's just, it's for some reason everything clicks together.
Some people just ignite you, and you ignite them.
And once you've done improv for a while, you can kind of improvise with everybody. But when you find someone that it's like, oh, this is special, like I could go here and just with like, where I'm going to go, and I'm starting to. We build shows while it's just really beautiful, and I think these specials. The only bummer is there's a lot of pressure, and you wish that, oh my god, I hope we have our best show we've ever had, and that's what everybody sees, and that's never going to happen. So you got to put that to the back of your head and be like, I hope we have a decent show to show people the kind of shows that we can do. And by the way, I hope they're kind of different also, so people can see like when you get on stage, they could be totally fucking different, and they are. The ones that we're putting together now are that. But there's that big risk, and the people that said yes to this special even said it's like. It was hard to sell this. Even we sold out Carnegie Hall, we sold out Chicago Theater, we sold out all these places. It doesn't matter because when you go to the network or the streaming service and you pitch, they're like, okay, but what's the special? What's the show? Like, oh, we don't know. We have no idea.
And they're like, and you want us to put millions of dollars?
That's exactly right. And then they're like, we'll put the exact minimum that we can put in. And I said, okay, that's fine. We don't need to make money. We just want to get this.
It's basically your proof of concept.
That's right.
But if it ultimately is the goal, like if these do well, you'll do like another series of them.
So the goal is if these do well, and then hopefully it will allow this place to welcome a little bit more improv in, and maybe we can build something off of that.
Just kind of, I want to dig into your brain a little bit because I want to understand like how long
are these usually? Can we talk for a while?
6-7 hours.
Okay.
How do you don't have to be anywhere, right?
No, I'm literally. I just landed. I'm great.
So I hope you packed a bag because when we're done, you'll have to get back on a plane and go do that show. How do you define, like in your mind, how do you define like whether or not a show was successful? Like, is it based on how much the audience laughs, or is it based on your own? Oh, they might have laughed, but I feel like I dropped the ball a couple times.
It's a great question. Yeah. A great question, which I've never been asked before. I am after shows. I'm very hard on shows for us. But I remember coming up in improv shows, I used to get so mad at myself. If I had like a bad show or something like that, or if I thought I was bad, I would drive myself crazy for that whole night. I'd be disappointed in myself the next morning. Can't believe that's, and then as you kind of do more and more, of course you have better shows and your failures are less, they're still there, but less. Sure. And then you kind of find things, whatever. So when I'm done with the show, I'll say audience laughter is a big one, but also the way that we handle situations, also the way that we bring a whole show together and make it feel like one piece and like a fun piece and not just eating cotton candy is a phrase I'd use. Like we have shows where sometimes we're just doing joke, and that's not as exciting for me as we give you like an hour show, you know what I mean? Just improv parks. We talk to the audience for 15 minutes up top just for fun, but like, and we bring shit together and we have these clear characters and we told a full story and we get off stage and we ended it with a bang. Like that's like, we had one of those, we had a really fun show in Portland that was very plot based, which you're not really supposed to do as much in improv, but we found a way to get all these character games to work and really pull together, and it had a nice little ending, and it was in front of 3,000 or 2,600 people, and it was like very exciting. So after that, it was like Thomas and I will talk about things we liked and didn't like. We never do like a big rundown. And then we'll come off stage sometimes and be like, that felt a little like we were working really hard for those laughs or something like that, and we'll chat about that stuff always. Sarah Silverman, who at the very beginning of my career played my sister in a movie, and since then has been like my sister. She's been amazing to me. I once said, because I get in my head and I've done 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, I don't know how many shows, improv shows by now, and sometimes someone afterwards would come up to me like, that was amazing. I'm not trying to.
No, it's okay. I know what
someone said something very nice to me, like, that was amazing. I can't believe you guys made that up. That was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And then I responded like, oh, really? I didn't love that one. I'm happy you liked it. I wasn't into it. And then Sarah pulled me aside and she's like, what are you doing? And I said, what? She goes, that person loved your show.
Yeah.
That person just saw
and you're kind of telling them they're dumb.
And she made me, it was a huge eye opener. She goes, you're now telling that person their opinion's wrong because you didn't think.
Because you're just being,
I'm a nerd, I'm Jewish nerdy.
Well, that's a double edged, because basically what you're, first of all, you're sort of being self-deprecating and not being able to take a compliment.
I'm very bad at taking compliments.
And second of all...
And talking about myself in a positive light is hard sometimes because I feel like I don't want to ever come across like a fucking asshole. You know what I mean?
Right, and you couldn't, because your energy... Ben, I would tend to think that you are probably generally regarded as like one of the sweetest people in comedy.
I'm going to change it tonight. Tonight, I'm taking one soul home with me.
but also like, then it's exactly. You're also kind of, because I've done the same thing too, and then you're also kind of showing your insecurity to someone.
Yes,
and
that's right.
Maybe kind of making them feel weird because they're watching you kind of like mini meltdown.
I'm putting my anxiety on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Instead of just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Yes,
which is can be a very difficult thing to do.
It is, and I will say there's some shows that Thomas and I, when we get out and we thought we had good shows, like oh, that'd be a good show. Then when someone comes up, like, yeah, I'll say like, that was a fun one. That's like the most compliment I'll ever say. I was like, oh yeah, we had fun. That was a fun one. Which is funny because at the beginning of my improv career, I noticed when people had bad shows, the first comment when someone would go up to them, if a friend went up to them, like, what'd you think? Someone would be like, oh, it looked like you guys had a lot of fun up there, and never talk about what happened in the show, if it was funny or anything.
Fun,
like that.
And the other one is like, oh God, I could never do that.
Right, exactly.
That is so brave. I could never. It's fun and bravery. I could never. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what was wrong with the audience. I mean, I just think they just didn't like. But whatever. They were probably tired. But it was great. This is the other one. Well, I got what you were doing. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever? Because I think it's so easy for us as comedy
I'll come off stage and be like, oh, that was an okay one, or like, I didn't love that one, and then the audience reaction on Twitter and Instagram is some of the most positive things I've ever seen, where I can't judge our own.
You don't know.
So doing these specials is so hard because I'll look at it and be like, oh, I don't know. What do you think? You know what I mean? Because we've done so many shows and we know what the best ones look like and we know what the worst ones look like. And so it's like, I hope people like this. I really like this, or this one I'm like, eh. So it's like, it's such an interesting thing because I'm not the best judge of things. And like people close to me and my parents and all that stuff, I'll be like, I'll come off stage and I'll be like, I don't know about that one. And my dad's like, that was fucking great. What are you talking about?
Right.
And I'm just in my head just because that's what we do as
well, and also
everything.
People close to you like that, because I've had shows that I thought were just okay, and Lydia's been like, that show was great. And I'm like, of course you're going to say
you
nice
love
things
me.
to me. Yes. You're seeing me differently.
Yes.
No, but the audience, I just didn't feel, I felt weird, and I just didn't feel like I was
so
connected.
In our heads. But it's also what probably pushes us. Also, another thing that I remember, I mean, I did your other podcast years ago, but you and I work very hard, and I think maybe those anxieties and those things push us to keep working, and like If we came off stage and thought we were great every time, we would probably be satisfied. But we keep pushing ourselves to do more.
And also, honestly, the truth of the matter is, like, whatever metric is in our head for how, because as comedy people, we want to destroy every time.
Yes.
But that means something very specific in our heads, and I'm not sure if it's a combination of, like, I've really felt like I was firing on all cylinders. I riff a lot with the audience, and there are times where I can sort of feel, and I imagine this is what the zone feels like, which is just like the experience of being purely in the present.
Yeah.
Where it just feels, it's just that like Sam Raimi Spider-Man time where everything slows down and you can see the wings on the fly flapping slowly.
Sure, man.
And like, here's what I'm saying now. There's where I'm going next. There's a guy in the audience back there that said something, and then I'm going to take a left turn in that. And then it's like you're just fully present for everything, and it kills. Those to me, but those don't happen every single time, nor I think would you appreciate them if they did.
Sam Reich, who now runs or owns College Humor, just recently had this line. He came to one of my shows and he was talking about it. We had a really fun show. We had a fun show, and he came up and he's like, "Oh, he was very complimentary and very kind, and I've been friends with him for years because I, did College Humor shit when I was very young." And he's like, "I know what it is when you're on stage and you're doing that stuff. I saw it." And I go, "What is it?" He goes, "That's meditation for you." He goes, "You're meditating because exactly what you explained." He goes, "Meditation is basically you're not able to think about anything but what's happening in that moment."
Right.
And he goes, "And exactly what your zone is exactly that. When we're improvising and things are going well and we're not in our heads being like, oh, what's going on right now? All you're thinking about is what's happening in that moment, reacting to the thing in front of you." And I was like, I never thought about that like that before, but I guess there's an aspect of that that's really like that.
Yeah, for you in particular, but also it's because of the improv. But but it's just when you do a lot of shows. Some shows you kill effortlessly. Some shows you bomb working hard. Some shows are just don't feel like anything. You're just sort of in the middle. But the audience can. It's like you can't really.
That's you judging you.
That's you judging you.
That's
you
not
can't,
the audience.
You can't really say what the audience thinks or how they're like. You have to allow them to feel how they're gonna feel.
Yes, but also take things that you didn't even think from it. Like people will come out of shows and be so happy. And then I was like, oh, okay, great. But it's because we're very hard on ourselves, but also we're able to, we've been doing it so long now that it's like, we're able to be like, oh, that was like the audience had fun, that was fun for us. What can we do a little bit better? But we don't, like before shows, we don't warm up. We literally are on our cell phones backstage. And for Largo, our monthly show, we get to the theater 5 minutes before the show starts. We put our microphones on and we go out on stage. We don't do any warm-ups anymore. We don't do anything. And then when it's over, we do 2 shows in one night and then we're gone. Like it's just like second nature to us, and it's super fun.
There's some. Oh boy, this is going to come off pretentious. There's some.
I can't wait.
Remember.
I can't wait for you to ruin it. Can't wait for you to make a mistake. So much at risk here, Chris. Come on, you're on a tightrope.
All of it. So, and I'm going to totally butcher this story, but the idea of it you'll get. But it's this, like. It's like Picasso's an old man. He's in a cafe. He scribbles
Is this a sketch you wrote, or this is real life?
No, this is a real life thing.
Okay. Okay, so Picasso's
you're
a man.
Okay, you're Picasso.
Sketching.
Okay, there's a barista.
Okay,
we get a barista.
All right, I'll have a coffee. What? I can't. What? Okay.
Yeah. He gives Picasso a mug, but the mug is in the shape of a polyhedron. It doesn't make any sense.
I can't put my water in this fucking polyhedron.
It just won't hold water.
I'm a Picasso.
You call this art? So, but the story is something to the effect of. He scribbles something on a napkin, and then a woman leans over and says, "Hey, I'll buy that from you." And he goes, "Okay, great, $50,000. And she's like, $50,000? That took you like 20 seconds to draw. And he said, "No, it took me 60 years. Basically, the sum total of all of the work that you've put into this point allows you to show up and just jump on stage.
I think that's
so.
I mean, of course, we're not.
We're
not comparing Picasso to what long form improv.
That's
where we
how
jump
I
in each
read
other's
what you
assholes.
were doing.
No. There's literal scenes where I'll go, I gotta get in that asshole, and jump into an asshole and end up in like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
You don't think Picasso probably painted some pictures of assholes that he didn't share with the world? Of course he did. He wrote. He's a guy. He's a person.
Yeah,
he painted some shit jokes.
Of course,
just
but
like a butt with blocks of shit coming out in weird squares. Yeah.
I do think you're absolutely right that it's like in any art form, in any work, even someone that works at a steel mill or blah blah blah. Once you put in your hours, it becomes second nature. You can kind of
it's just
precision.
sort of killing the myth that people are like, well, you guys don't even do any work. You just show up, and it's yes, but like that took years to get to that point.
Years of failing.
And do you? are you more comfortable now? I'm always jealous of the Will Ferrell stories about how on SNL, if a sketch didn't go well, he'd just be like, oh well. And then it just didn't stick with him for whatever reason.
Right.
To me, that is like freedom, because as comedians, a lot of times, like you said, we can just torture ourselves over a bit. Oh, why did I say this?
Yeah.
God, I wasn't listening. And then this. Oh, and this person was in the room. Oh, fuck.
Right. For me, it's if there's like a move that I missed or something like that, or it was my fault, or if something felt like it was my fault, I'll still get in my head like that. Stuff that sticks with me, or we don't really. If somebody like, I'm trying to think of like the last thing that really stuck in my head, but if a show went poorly, it would bum me out, and then I'd be able to erase it not erase it totally, but be like, well, we have another show next week or 2 weeks. I would want a show to redeem myself.
Well, that's why performing a lot helps, because if you have one show a month and that show didn't go well, then in your mind, you failed 100% of the time that month. If you have 10, 20 shows, they're going to run the gamut of, and then you're like, and then you kind of take the overall average and go, I did okay. And
that's happened before, where we'll have 2 shows at Largo, and our first show, which the audience was very cool about, but I'll be like, I feel like I could have done that better. I'm really happy we have one more shot tonight. Mm-hmm. And then the second show will be totally different. You know what I mean? Whatever the audience has given us. And then if that was like a redemption, I'll be like, all right, better. But if my second show is a little bit crappier, I will say we've done it long enough where we never come off stage being like, well, we bombed. That was terrible.
Right.
Because we can always keep a show afloat.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's a little bit more clunky. Sometimes we're sweating, you know what I mean, to get through it. But usually, especially when we're on our home, Largo's like our home court. It's like, going to MSG if you're on the Knicks.
Well,
although the Knicks lose every game now, so it's a terrible metaphor.
I don't understand that reference.
Sorry, also Knicks are a popular basketball team in the NBA. NBA is the National Basketball Association.
It's not the National Bowling?
Round ball into basket. Oh, okay. Michael Jordan.
The Mayans.
Oh, Space Jam.
Space Jam.
Yeah.
Oh, so the Knicks were playing Bugs Bunny. And
that's correct. Monstars versus
right. When because you have to sort of cultivate the other kind of UCB thing is don't think.
Yes.
So like you just say whatever comes to your mind. Are you ever worried like? Do you have to censor yourself though if you're like, oh, my brain is going to this place that this is a well I've drawn from a lot, this is a joke I've made a lot, or oh, that's too offensive of a thing, I can't say it just popped in. So you have to like really edit quickly.
It's more so now than before, much like how stand-ups will sometimes veer away from stuff or something like that.
Sure.
But the first one, which was have I gone down that road before, all the time I will stop myself. If there's a suggestion, like oftentimes someone will say graduation. So we'll talk to them and we will ask them questions. And if we're on stage, I will never allow, or I'll try my best to never allow a moment be anything similar to what it was. Now, we can have proposals. We can have different versions of what proposals look like. But if there's a proposal that someone goes to the top of a mountain and proposes, we won't do that again. Mm-hmm. And I will. It's funny because in real life, I'll forget a lot of shit. But in shows, I'm pretty good at remembering a little bit. So I will make sure we don't go down those paths. And if something does feel like it will be offensive or something like that, my brain will veer away from it.
Just trim it out.
Yeah, or if it's happening, if someone on stage, throughout my career, if someone on stage is doing something that I'm like, this is not going to go, I will call it out so it feels like, like that you can't do that. That's bad. You can't say that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And make it so whatever. Or you learn. If somebody on stage in your group says something and the audience feels offended or something like that, you kind of take it in, you learn. It can also be something that they didn't even mean for it to be offensive. You could
also make them a character in the improv that would...
I try my best to be very, very safe, and I would never do something.
No, because you want people to feel good and have fun.
Yeah, I really try my best never to do something offensive. I'm sure in my whatever career.
But my point is that in the sort of don't think, that sort of upper level of that is like sometimes you do have to think, but still be able to think around.
Well, if you're playing characters also and someone's like a stereotypical, or like if someone's like a very flamboyant gay character or homosexual or LGBTQ, it's like I don't want to offend anybody, so I don't want to get on stage and do like someone is from Japan. We had a show the other day that someone was going to Japan or something like that. I was like, I'm not going to do that accent.
Right.
I just can't do that accent.
No, you should,
because I just won't. Yeah. So it's like, so I will come on stage, as a Japanese person that has a perfect American accent and justify justify that, as opposed to, back in the day, it might have been a little bit different. But it hasn't deterred us or taken us away from the comedy at all.
I would imagine that it wouldn't, because again, when you get to that upper level of improv, those are just and sometimes impediments can be gifts, because having to think around stuff, it's basically you're just given another set of rules, which is what people are giving you when they're giving you suggestions. They're giving you a set of rules to follow.
It's interesting, yeah.
And so and that's why I think, especially if you're writing or you're creating something and you get, like weird network notes, or you have limited budget or whatever, those are gifts in a way, because it forces you to be creative.
Yeah.
To have to think around those.
Yeah, man. Think about, I'm sure Indiana Jones, wasn't it written as like a B-type movie? Like it wasn't Raiders like a B-type movie, or like some of those, or even Jaws, with all the problems with Jaws. Like, didn't Spielberg have to figure out ways around the shark that wasn't working?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I think a lot of that stuff lends itself to.
Nice try, Spielberg.
Yeah, man. Whatever happened.
You'll get it next time.
God,
next shark movie, I guess.
Have you ever talked to him?
I've met him. I've moderated a panel with. Oh God, I did an embarrassing thing.
Did you?
Yeah.
I had an embarrassing moment. The only time I met him was embarrassing for me too.
Okay, do you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Yours is gonna be better. Mine is a very tiny one.
It's not great. It's not horrible. It's just it's one of those why did I do that? So I was moderating a panel. Might have been Ready Player One, and he was on it. I met and
Ernie Klein.
Yeah, Ernie Klein's book. Yeah, and backstage, we were all taking pictures, and oh God, I'm even saying this. And
do you not want to do it?
No, I'll say it. It's just embarrassing. And I asked him when we were taking a picture if we could just touch the tips of our fingers together.
Oh my God.
He was like, no. Like he brushed it off in a way that was a little it was just he was just like, no, he just batted it away.
You took your shot.
I took my shot, and then afterwards I was like, oh, of course. And then in retrospect, I was like, why did I? But I guess I took the swing because, and I knew that it was a corny thing to do. I wanted to explain, no, I know it's a corny, it's for comedy. But sometimes you do take a swing, and sometimes people they're like, oh my God, of course, But for him in particular, it's he's been asked literally everything, and so it was a very quick moment.
It's a great story, though. Did you take a picture with him, though?
We took a picture, but I had that, that feeling where you feel diarrhea brewing and your face gets hot, and
it's called the panic attack.
Yeah, I could feel that shame spiral of, and no little alien could put his finger on my heart and make it feel better.
You couldn't turn a flower.
All right, so what was yours?
Mine was, I was at Bad Robot. I'd done some stuff with JJ over the years where he's been very kind, and so if I was in near where his office was, he'd be like, hey, just step by the office. We'll get you an office if you need to write, because I write movies all the time. And he's been very cool. So oftentimes, if there's a free office at Bad Robot, I would go in and write. But there are no offices available, so I just went on one of the assistant's desks because the assistant was gone. And I was at the assistant's desk, and all the assistants there are very smart and lovely, and it's like a fun little place. So I'm writing, and Steven Spielberg walks in to have a meeting with JJ, and I never met JJ. I've never met Steven Spielberg before, so him coming in was like, I'm assuming what Elvis feels like for someone who loves music.
Oh my God, of course.
It was like, I saw his face, and my heart was like, I got so nervous.
It'd be like if you were an altar boy during a mass, and then Jesus walked in and was like, I'm just gonna wash up a little bit.
Jesus?
You guys gonna eat my body later? Okay, great.
Yeah, your hands are bleeding.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go wipe these off.
So
I'm gonna go wipe these off.
Oh my God, did you fucking see Jesus?
Oh my God.
So he goes in to have a meeting with JJ. This is years ago too, and I'm on the desk, and the desk I happened to be working on, I don't remember whose assistant was supposed to be there, but behind there was all the busts of heads that they made for different movies for Bad Robot, and they're all behind me. And I know that he's gonna. So JJ's office was kind of in front of me. So when they come back out, he would have to come, and I would see his face, and it would be whatever. And I'm writing a movie, and it was like a movie for Paramount or Universal or something. It was I was writing a real movie there. I was doing a real thing. So if he asked me what it was, I could even be like, oh, you know what I mean? But I wanted to play. All I wanted to do is say hello to him. But I get very nervous around people that I'm really respect, and I never have the balls to go up to someone that I whatever.
Yeah.
So JJ comes out with him. I'm at the desk writing away, and then JJ goes, I don't know what he calls him, Steve or Steven or whatever. He goes, Steven, do you know Ben? And, just like, because I'm very close with JJ, I've known him for years. And Steven's like, oh, I don't think so. Ben, how are you? And I get up and I'm like, good. He's like, oh, what's it like to be at that desk all day with all those busts looking at you? So he thinks I'm just one of the assistants there. And I fucking just played along with it and acted like I was an assistant. And I said,
that's a good story.
I was like, oh, you know what? It feels a little uncomfortable because they're looking at me all day. It makes me work harder. And he laughed a little bit and he left. And JJ didn't even say, oh, he doesn't work here.
Well, he probably, to be fair, on the sort of like hierarchy of creative people, JJ probably still has a little bit of like, look, I know I'm friends with Spielberg, but maybe he still has a little bit of reverence because how could he not?
And that was it. And then he left. And there's nothing wrong with being an assistant. I was an intern and paid for years, but it was so funny.
It's just like you
instead of, because in my head, it would have been way more awkward for me to be like, oh, no, I don't work here. I'm writing you know what I mean? Instead, I was just like, you know what? Just he's never going to remember this. This is for me.
That's the thing is that they don't remember. Because I got introduced to him briefly at SNL like 2 years later. And I felt, and part of me was like, I've heard he has a great memory for stuff, though. So I'm like, is he going to remember me as the dude that touched? And then, and I thought, no, he doesn't. And if he does, he doesn't give a shit, and he's going to forget about me the second he walks. I'm like not on that guy's radar.
I want to meet him when I'm doing a movie for him. That's like I want to, you know what I mean? Like that's like how whatever. And then I'll never mention that I've ever met him before in the past. That's
my God, you were an assistant at Bad Robot.
I'm so afraid that he's going to say, "Good for you, man. Good for you."
At least that's a positive story, you know. At least
yes, but also like
story.
I literally yes-anded his idea.
But like, that's improv training in life. What do you tell yourself when you obsess over things? Like if you have a bad show, or if you have a bad interaction with someone that you respect, or you said a stupid thing, or something didn't go the way you wanted, and then you're lying in bed at night, and then it's like the sort of the anxiety vultures start picking away at the scraps of your brain, and then. Do you have a thing that you like? How do you talk yourself down instead of that? Oh God, because like when you get into the spiral, it's just like it gets worse and worse.
There's a version of therapy that literally deals with that spiral, and that spiral is something that I've had my whole life. But at the beginning, when I was on a team called Hot Sauce and we're first starting, it felt like everything was on the line with every show. So like because you just want to break so bad, you want somebody to care about what you're doing. So I would really torment myself when I had bad improv shows, and it would really affect me, and I couldn't stop. And it would take like sleeping or me being upset. I wouldn't go out afterwards. Like, some people go drinking and I'd just be really upset at myself. Now I have learned to separate it, know that that's one show. Also, you and I have done so many that it's like it goes in a pile of, thousands as opposed to the beginning of your career when it's like one of 50 shows you've ever done. Then 60 shows, they mean so much more. That means like 1/50th of all your shows were the worst shows in the world.
Right.
So it's like now I'm able to... Sometimes with acting, I'll have a scene where I wish I nailed it harder, and that'll stick with me. Or if I have an auditions because you have one shot in the room,
right? I
will replay the audition in the elevator many times. I will do an audition, and if I didn't think that I did it great, or if I didn't think I nailed it the way I wanted to, when I'm in the elevator on the way back down, I will do the scene again in my head, being like, "Why the fuck didn't I say it that way?"
Well, that's the thing is that that certain types of obsessive brains will do this thing that I call hate fishing, which is
great term.
You replay the thing, like you come out and you go, "I don't know if that was it." Whatever it is, a show or whatever, an audition or whatever, meeting someone, you go, "Oh, that wasn't that great." And then your brain's just like scanning. And you go, and you find that one moment, "Oh my God," and I said this thing. "Oh my God," and then they reacted in this weird way. Was that because of, "Oh my God," and then the other person, and then you're in this full
100%.
That almost like but you have to also remember, like, is it possible that happened? Yes. And if that did happen, then it's like, well, so what? But the truth of the matter is, most of the time, and alarming most of the time, it's not exactly what you
I agree, but the personal stuff what you just said is more the stuff that I would really torment myself over if it's like, not even like, let's say you're in an audition, or let's say you're meeting somebody or something like that, and something happens, and you're like, "Oh my God, then I did say this. Oh, did they get offended by that? I didn't mean it that way. Oh my God." And then that'll really stick with me, and that's way harder for me to get out of my head than if I had a bad show. Because if I had a bad show, it's on stage. People have bad shows all the time. But if I said something and I was like, "Oh wait, I was joking around. Did that person not know I was doing a bit? Did that person not know I was doing a bit?
Yeah.
Should I text that person and tell them I'm sorry?" And then someone will be like, "Ben, don't text." Then you're making it a thing. They're probably not even thinking about it.
Yeah, they're probably not thinking about us the second we're not in front of their face
Oh,
anymore.
we're thinking about it.
And the other thing that's been very comforting is I've had people call me the next day after an interaction, be like, I just have to say, I am so sorry that I said, X, Y, or Z. And I go, what? I don't even know what you're talking about.
know.
Or, God, I didn't even think, what? No.
Yeah.
And so
That's
having
spiraling. That's
been on the
literally-
other side of it, I feel like, oh, you know what? It's not, it's
It's
not.
a part. If anybody feels that, know that it's an actual part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Both Chris and I have felt that in real ways. Or if someone gets offended from something, I'll do something that I don't even see. I was like, I didn't even see that someone could take it offensive. This very, very rarely happens. And then someone will say like, oh, this bumped me weird. And I'll be like, oh, that wasn't even my intention in the scene. But I guess if you're looking at it from that way, maybe.
Right.
Okay, I feel terrible. I'm just going to learn that there are to make sure to cover all my bases. That's not what I was doing. That literally what you're saying wasn't what I was doing, but I will learn from that. Anytime
Right.
there's something like that, someone gets offended, I'll try to learn from that. But there's some things that we can't, like there was a review where someone had we did a show about pregnancy, and then there's a review online where someone said, I hated the show because it was either they had a troubled pregnancy, and I was like, oh, well, we can't. You know what I mean?
Right.
We didn't even there wasn't a problem with the pregnancy. Someone was just pregnant on stage.
Right.
Like when we were playing a pregnant character and that person had a personal experience that they had a problem with their pregnancy, so they couldn't watch a show that
Right.
someone was pregnant. And I was like, oh, we can't handle that because that will take then you take off everything kind of off the table.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, it also how I was doing an Italian accent at the beginning of the podcast.
Yes.
To be fair, my
Yeah.
great-grandparents immigrated from Italy.
Right.
And
To be fair, you're cooking a pizza right now.
it is delicious. And my great-grandparents, they talk they sounded like Godfather characters
Right.
to me, when I was growing up, because I was fortunate enough that they were alive for the first, 10 or 12 years of my life.
Yeah, that's great.
But
Your great grandparents were?
great-grandparents,
Oh,
yeah.
You're very lucky.
Yeah, Maria and Alfonso.
How old were they when they passed away?
They were 89 and 96.
Wow.
And they had been together for
2 years.
70.
They just met near the end.
They were on the Tinder
They
prototype.
Thelma and Louise it at the end.
Yeah, they did. They were together for 72 years.
It's unbelievable.
So but it is also, especially in those situations where you're beating yourself up. Oftentimes, I think if you can first of all say well, it happened how it happened.
Yep.
Life is all flavors of everything, which is a very kind of stoic thing. Good things happen, perceived bad things happen, and but if you can learn from them and go, oh, okay, well,
Learning
next
from them
time-
is a huge thing. Oh, just anything. Also, watching how people react to things in the real world and learning from that. Just trying to be aware of things I think is good.
Well, it's
but
also-
I think a lot of it is also you have to be not about offending people. We really haven't had much problem with that at all. But about the stuff that you were talking about, that spiraling, about personal stuff. Let's say you just meet somebody and you're like, oh, did I say something weird? Is that that joke not land? It's a practice to let it go, because if not, you can torment yourself. I remember a therapist once said that it's a thing can happen, right? But the suffering that you put yourself through, that's on you. You're making yourself suffer.
Yes.
Let's say I'm not sure, I'm not happy with a role that I got 5 years ago. I wish I was doing something more. I wish I played the character different or whatever. I'm driving myself crazy about it. That's me. I'm doing that to myself.
Yeah.
Nobody else is doing that to
Nobody
yourself
else is
either.
doing that to yourself. And also, I tend to not. If I just meet someone and we trade numbers and we're starting to become friends, I tend to not text jokes at them, doing bits, because there's well, I don't know I'll just let them do it first, and then that'll sort of inform where we're at.
What if you both are doing the same thing and you guys never get to be funny with each other?
Well, then to each other, we're very serious, not funny people, and that's just how it is.
That's crazy.
But also it just sort of accepting that. It's all part. It doesn't all have to be one flavor all the time. You don't have to kill all the time. And also, your value as a human being isn't whether or not you kill.
Right.
You're not your career. But being able to the kind of unfair thing about comedians, though, with our brains, is that comedians are by nature very detail oriented. And if you're a good improviser, what makes those improvs good is detail.
Yes, that's
so you
correct.
are constantly, you're a noticer and you're a deconstructor. And when you don't have something externally to deconstruct, then that mechanism just turns on your own brain.
Oh, I remember someone explained that with Robin Williams is so brilliant and so, it's so quick and everything. It's like, imagine if that stuff that's going so quick in his head was used for evil against himself.
It doesn't just shut off.
It's still, you know what I mean? I was like, wow, someone explained that once, was the people that are just functioning at like high levels and, their brains are moving so fast. Imagine if that is being used against them in their personal life. I was like, wow, man, that would be a disaster.
I mean, it is basically, it's like a digestive enzyme that without external food just starts consuming itself.
Kind of crazy.
For the protein. So
yeah,
it is a lot of like, I think, like just being cool with yourself. And listen, sometimes people do say dumb things in conversations, or they do ask Steven Spielberg to touch tips of fingers, and you just have to laugh at it and go, I was a fucking idiot. I don't know. But we don't always do the perfect thing and because, but a lot of that comes from, like the fault that I brought to that is in my head. I was like, I really want Steven Spielberg to like me.
Yeah.
I really want to be liked.
Of course.
And
this is your moment to meet
there's
an idol.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's a dangerous place to come from because it's a desperate place to come from, as opposed to just like, we're going to say hi. I have no expectations. We're probably not going to have an exchange where he invites me to come, hang out with him somewhere.
Right.
It's like,
but also think about your want being like, I really want him to like me. And that must be everybody that's ever met him.
Of course it is.
It must be.
Of course it is.
And he's just a normal dude, I'm sure. You know
and
what I mean?
he can't, it's not his responsibility to like everyone.
No.
That's our responsibility, I think, to just sort of bring a more realistic and better self-esteem plate to the table.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, nice to meet you, like, oh, we'll take a quick picture. Thanks, But sometimes you can read, if someone kind of does bits with you, like sometimes you'll meet people who will do bits with you.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, can we do, and then they go, oh my God, of course.
I've had people come up to me. I've oftentimes found out that when people find out you're a comedian, or maybe they know you as a comedian, they try to be funny with you.
Right.
And I've had this so many times where like a guy will be with like a guy will be out with another friend, or a guy will be with his girlfriend or something like that, and immediately start shitting on the other person, like to try to make me laugh.
Because in their mind, comedy's a sword, and not everyone should wield it.
It was so. I mean, many times it would be so weird, and like so people want to make. And I understand the idea of like maybe if I met a comedian that I liked, that I would be like, how fun would it be if I like made that person laugh? But sometimes people will try so hard. You're like, whoa, buddy, what are you doing? Like,
right.
It'd be like, yeah, this is my girl. Like, he'll be like, this is my girlfriend. I was like, oh, nice to meet you. I'm like, yeah, she's not the best. She's kind of a bitch. I was like, what are you doing? What are you wrong with you?
Well, I think I in those situations, I think it's sort of fun to try to diffuse it. Or like, oh, you're doing the old take my wife please bit, where you like call it out.
I'll be like, you might want to take it down a notch.
Yeah,
she seems like a nice human being.
Yeah, or you turn to the girl and go like, you could do better.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Sort of
I'm
like
so
to
sorry.
diffuse the situation.
Now is your time to run.
Because I do like to meet people after shows, because I want them to have a fun. I want the experience to be fun.
Well, you also implant microchips in anybody that comes to your shows, so you can see where
it's
they
a
go
subtle.
after.
I'll take the handshake, and then the microchip is just in the sweat gland.
Yes,
and then it just wipes off if I'm shaking your hand. And then
it's
that
very
way,
smart.
It's really a marketing, because I can chip everyone, and then I kind of know,
you know where they are. You know what they do.
I know what they're shopping for on Amazon.
Yes.
I can try to,
you change your act per that.
I'm trying to pioneer like algorithmic comedy.
Yeah, I remember 7 years ago.
In a way, that's kind of what you guys do on stage. Algorithmic based comedy, where you're basically like you're taking something from the audience and then firing it back at them, and then taking them down a path.
We're taking the story, and then to prove that it's all made up, we kind of like wind all it in.
People they say Middleditch and Schwartz the Amazon of comedy.
A lot of people are calling us. Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. I remember 7 years ago, after you did that thing where you had like 30 minutes just on Jamba Juice.
Right.
Yeah, because it was huge at the time. Everybody was going from your shows to Jamba Juice.
Because I was kind of hoping that it was to take branding off of social media,
yes,
like just into life. So I did a lot of bits with like power shots.
Very smart. Really smart stuff.
Yeah, but you also have to know when to not do it.
Yeah, of course.
So I moved on now to I don't know if it's I just do a lot of yogurt bits now.
A lot of yogurt bits.
Yeah, like yogurt.
Yeah, your whole Jamie Jamie Lee Curtis yogurt bit is hilarious.
Well, that's shit yogurt.
Yeah, of course.
That's yogurt that makes you shit.
You got it.
That's a whole different kind of
course,
yogurt.
it's a beautiful type
Are you
of yogurt.
performing in LA? Yeah, you do your monthly show. Is it like a specific weekend every month?
We try to do it one night a month, and we do 2 shows a night. That's Largo. But because it's a smaller venue, they kind of sell out quick. And then we do tours. If you go to middleditchandschwartz.com for the rest of the year, I don't know when this comes out, for the rest of the year, we have probably 10 more shows.
I mean, you guys are really you're playing big venues on the
very
road,
crazy.
and you're selling them out.
It's been very surreal. It has been very, very surreal. I think it's about to be our 2-year anniversary. We're playing in Carnegie Hall, which is a big.
That's incredible.
It's crazy. So, it has been a growth that literally we were doing Largo, and Thomas wanted to tour, and it wasn't something that I really wanted to do because I was like, I got work, I want work to do, and then he convinced me to tour, and we toured small places, and then bigger, and then now we're doing bigger ones, and. There was a question at the beginning, like, well, there's got to be a limit. You can't go too big. We're 2 people on stage making crap up, like in a small. We'll do small scenes. You know what I mean? And we're trying to push it and figure out where it fits and where it works. And it's been really lovely to see people react to it. That's the cool thing: bringing long form improv to a city that doesn't have a ton of it, and seeing the audience react and be like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" That is awesome. That feeling's awesome. The idea of touring is draining. You're going on planes all day.
And your shows are exhausting. Do you do more than one a night?
We did 2 last night, but if it's a bigger venue, we can't sell out more than once. But if it's a smaller venue, we'll do 2.
The Chicago theater's like 3,000. Like it's
3,600. It was insane.
It is a crazy, and I don't know if people know, like, there are only a very small percentage of comedians who can sell above 3,000. I mean, it's like
it's a ludicrous
It's a
number.
handful.
I'm like well aware. Like when we played this Portland
But even
theater,
3 is insane.
Oh, it's bananas. It is truly bad. And also, we usually, when we started performing for 90 people, 100 people, and we couldn't sell out. You know what I mean? So it's like that long form improv. One of the other things we're trying to show is because stand up, you could see people play the Cellar, but then you could see Kevin Hart sell at a stadium.
Yeah.
That exists. But for improv, you see people at UCB or you see people at the Pit or the Magnet or wherever you are at the movie, and it's at the Comedy Theater. It's a black box theater, Second City, Improv Olympic, and it's usually about 150 or 120 people, and that's it. So now, with this special, we're showing you that you can also play it in a theater of, I forget what the capacity was that we filmed in, maybe 800 or something like that. And so, like, that exists. A video of that doesn't exist yet. Now we're showing people that, hey, it doesn't have to be in this. We can do it here. Like, anybody can do it here, too. So I think that's going to be a cool thing for people to see, because for stand-up, it exists. You could see Kevin Hart play these stadiums. In improv, I think there's been a couple specials.
Not a lot of stadium improv groups.
No, and I don't think stadium improv would work. I mean, maybe one day we get to do it, or like
You wouldn't want to do it.
I think it'd be tough. Like Radio City Music Hall to me would be like, just because I'm from New York, I was like, how crazy would it be if we played Radio City Music Hall, which I think is 6,000 or something like that?
Yeah.
That would be insane, but it's still at least a theater. And we like, when we pick venues, we like to go to places that like plays and theater, like a theater to us feels like a cool place to be. I think there was ASCAT did a special on Bravo, which was kind of like a set with a couple, maybe 100 people watching. And then TJ and Dave, there's a documentary where they had footage of them performing. And then I did a long form improv special for Showtime, but it was at the it was at UCB Franklin, which was like 120 people. So now we're showing you can put it in a theater and it still translates.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a cool thing if it works. And I hope people dig it. Oh, I can't believe I never talk about this stuff. It's usually Sonic and stuff like that.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously Sonic is coming out soon.
Yes. When does this come out, do you think? Do you have any idea?
Well, it'll come out March 11th.
Oh my God, that's years from now.
It's years from now.
God,
But
how
it'll
many?
be-
You have so many podcasts
It'll be
in the
here
can.
and it'll be here in no time.
What's the most excited you are about a podcast between now and March?
that hasn't come out yet?
Yeah.
Well, we're pretty close to. We don't have a lot in the can at this point.
Okay.
Especially over the holidays, like we sort of burn
Yeah.
through. But I wonder. I can't even remember who's. What? Oh yeah, I am kind of excited about that. I watched Michelle Monaghan told me about this documentary called The Biggest Little Farm.
Yeah.
It's basically just about how this couple just decides, like, let's just start a farm and see if we can create a sustainable farm. We'll just quit our fucking jobs. He was a cinematographer for nature documentaries, and she was a food blogger, and they were just like, let's just fucking move to a farm. So they bought this like pile of dirt in Moore Park, California, and they worked with this guy, and the documentary is their 7-year journey of turning it into a sustainable farm.
Oh,
And because
that's
he was a
cool.
cinematographer, it's like so beautifully
I
and stunningly
bet.
shot. And it is so moving because there's so much good life stuff in it, because every time they like like break through another barrier, they get a whole host of new problems.
Yeah.
And they fight against a problem, and then they realize that they have to the successful thing for them to do is to figure out how to work with the problem instead of trying to fight it.
Oh, that's great.
And so they turn it into this incredible.
Where is it located? What city?
Moore Park. It's like an hour out of LA.
Oh, great.
And so I'm actually really excited about that because to watch people like the dedication and the craft and the passion, but then also just I think there are so many lessons to extrapolate from. Look, we build up these ideas in our head like if I achieve this, then I will be happy. It's like we're constantly delaying happiness because we chase happiness like it's a drug, and which is I think is a completely incorrect way to perceive happiness. It's not like an endorphin rush. It shouldn't be like an endorphin rush that we're chasing. But anyway, and you don't ever foresee like, well, what are the issues going to be when I get to that place? And then you get to the place, not only do you have problems, but it doesn't fulfill you in a sustainable way, the way you think it's going to. And so how do you sort of deal with that? How do you handle obstacles? And how do you make them work for you? How do you learn from things? And so I'm just so eager to learn about
cool
about
also.
all
It's
that
also
stuff.
different. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that sort of interdisciplinary like lesson stuff.
Yeah.
where I was like, well, they're not making comedy, but they have created they've achieved a near impossible feat with what they did.
Well, I always think for us, and I think same for stand up. Although I'm ignorant when it comes to stand up, I only did it very few times in my life at the very beginning. That like I was a psychology anthropology major.
Oh,
so yeah, I didn't do arts until maybe the last year of college or whatever, and so that is great. And also just living and doing things and learning about other things helps the idea of creating your own comedy and stuff like that. There's a note I got because I was so obsessed with improv at the beginning. I would wake up at 6 a.m. I would freelance jokes for Letterman's monologue. Then I was a page at Letterman. Then after that, I'd go and become an intern or a bartender at UCB. Then I'd either take a class, and then I'd try to do the last show, which like the beginners could do at UCB or whatever. And I do it day out. And I found out all I was doing was comedy. And there was a teacher named Christina Gaussis, I've talked about this before, who's a great Chicago improviser. And she's like, and I was like, I feel like I'm in a rut. I feel like I'm just like doing similar type scenes. And I explained to her my day. She's like, well, you're improvising off of improv, off of shows you've seen. You have to go out. She's like, go out, do things. Yeah, go do things. And that was a huge one for me because I love comedy and I love improv so much that it was all I wanted to be around and all I wanted to do. And I forgot to like live life. And then I have nothing to improvise or write off of.
would you want to be not as neurotic, but if it meant you also had to give up being as funny? Would you trade in, like, would you want a more like, oh, I'm just sort of in general, I'm, don't have a lot of highs, don't have a lot of lows, just kind of happy, content, but also maybe not as funny?
I think I would not want to trade that. Luckily, as I've gotten older, and I'm sure you feel the same way, your neuroses kind of go away a little bit.
Right.
A little bit.
Right.
Or you recognize them and know how to deal with them.
Right.
You recognize that the anxiety's coming and da-da-da. So I've been better at dealing with that. But I think that stuff and that drive at the beginning, especially me just wanting to be able to make any money in this business so I can keep doing it.
Right.
I didn't care if I made money. I just wanted to do this. I wanted to do this so bad at the beginning. So it's like that drive has been very helpful.
And you work in a lot of different areas as an
Yes.
actor, as a writer, as an improviser and live performer.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you're doing?
Yeah, I direct stuff and then I produce. I've been executive producer in a couple TV shows and movies and kind of a little bit of everything. I published 4 books.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like you kind of have... I mean, I'm sure all that stuff is fun, but doesn't it sort of feel like that the contemporary performer has to do like 9 things to just sustain?
It's interesting. I think it's like you follow what's interesting, but it's like, oh, I have this idea that would be good in this format. And so you see if you can sell that. But I published books. Like one of the first things I did was sell this book called Grandma's Dead, Breaking Bad News of Baby Animals.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically the cutest pictures of animals and then a text below it that says like, it's malignant or daddy's never coming home. And it was before memes were a thing.
Yep.
So like I sold them as, with me and my friend Amanda McCall, we sold them as postcard books. And the whole idea is you rip out the postcard and you send it to somebody to soften the news of you soften the blow of the bad news.
Do people use them for real? Or
Yes.
Oh,
and
wow.
we found out later they did, and we sold a lot of copies, and it was great. Then we'd sold 2 more like that, and so it was like at the beginning, I saw that stuff because I want to do anything, but also you find something that like sparks your interest and like, what would be the best version of this? Is this a TV show? Is this a movie? Is that whatever? But directing, I've been doing a little bit more directing, and we'll see if that's something. But I think for me, the biggest things will always be acting, writing, and then opportunities that come up for directing and producing that coincide with maybe those other things. That makes me interested.
So 2 more things, and the last one, we should talk a little bit about Sonic.
Yeah, please. So if this come out in March, Sonic has come out, and then Standing Up, Falling Down came out, the Billy Crystal movie, and then the next thing would be, I don't even know when it comes out.
Space Force?
So it would be the Middle Edition Schwartz specials, and then I believe Space Force after that.
God, that's so great, Ben.
It's a very crazy year. It's an insane one.
I can't tell you how delighted I am for you. You're someone that I want, and you are winning, but you're someone that I want to win.
You're so kind.
All the time, because you are one of those people that I feel like I feel funnier when I'm around you because
that's an incredible compliment. That's such a nice thing to say.
You make people funnier around you because you're just a good, like, you're funny, but you're also a good activator and you're generous.
I love when people hit around me, like doing that Italian bit, me playing the straight man. So you do that made me so happy.
It made me so happy too
because it's improv. I get to be,
and it's just dumb and it's fucking around, and it's like you know that like
we created something together, which is so exciting.
And you have different chemistry with everyone, which is why it's fun to collaborate. But what was the last question?
The last thing is Space Force.
Oh yeah, Space Force. Yeah. And then Sonic.
Oh yeah. So what do you want to talk about?
Just anything. Is there anything you want to? Because it.
Sure. Sonic will have already come out, this is exciting because nobody's seen the movie yet, and I really like it a lot. I think it's really good. Also, Jim Carrey is so fucking good in this movie, and he does it he brings a performance like old school '90s Jim Carrey. And me watching it for the first time, I almost got emotional watching it because, I mean, it's not my face, but like my voice happens, and then the guy that I idolized growing up talks to it.
Right.
And and also I don't have a ton of opportunities to be a lead voice or lead anything in $90 million movies. So there's that feeling also that you're watching this and like the effects are fucking amazing. And I was like, I'm a part of this. Like people, like oftentimes the movies I do, it'll be like, hey mom, dad, okay, there's going to be 2 nights. It's going to be in a movie theater, this independent movie. You got to go to this theater in Manhattan. And if you want to see it,
I saw you for like a half a second. You walked through the frame.
Yeah. Did you see me? I was great though.
Kind of. I had to squint. I don't know.
Okay, I tried to wink at you. That was me.
I thought you were having a stroke.
No, well, my character's having a stroke.
I didn't get that.
So, my mom shits on my performance of me walking through a frame.
It was a little lame.
Mom. But for me, it's cool that like
it's better than owning a cell.
It's in theaters.
Yeah.
If you want to see this, it's in theaters at this day, which is a very cool feeling. And I think it's fun, and I got to improvise a lot, and I got to I love voiceover shit. Both you and I love animated stuff.
I love voiceover stuff.
So it's like I've had this path of voiceover that I've really worked hard. It's hard to break into that field, and then once you're there, try to establish yourself enough because, I mean, I've been around legends, and I can't do anything like. I've been around like John DiMaggio or like
DiMaggio, Maurice LaMarche, Rob Paulson, D. Bradley Baker.
Oh my God, they're
these
insane.
Guys that can. I feel like I'm good at voiceover within a range,
right?
But there are like voices. Where you're like,
the ability
oh my
to do
God.
other like the people like Kevin Michael Richardson who can like get into a booth and do like 7 voices talking to each other. I am in awe. I can do a couple different voices, and like what happens usually is I'll play a version of myself that's either heightened or I'll find like a fun.
Too.
And then the fun thing is people don't know, but like in a lot of these episodes I've done, I'll play ancillary voices where I'm just trying crazy shit out.
Yeah.
And nobody will ever know that's me.
Yeah.
And it's super fun to do that. But these dudes and women as well are able to fucking to watch them is like. It's incredible. Or even think about the old Looney Tunes, man. Like there are people that just are able to do so many
June
different
Foray or like Tress McNeil or
Tress McNeil's amazing.
Gray Delisle.
Pamela Hayden did so Millhouse is my voicemail message. So it's like even watching her, I was like, can you just say Ben's not here right now, but you know, everything's coming up Millhouse, some of that, and she did it, and it's like my favorite thing. It is my voicemail for the past.
See, that's why I'm saying sometimes you ask people to do that, and they're cool with it.
Well, the only reason I said it is because I'd done a guest voice on The Simpsons, a very small one, and she passed by after something, and she goes, "Oh my God, I'm a big Parks and Rec fan." I go,
"Oh, so you're
She
in."
goes, I said, "I am so nervous to talk to you. I wanted to come up to you." And she goes, "Why didn't you?" I go, "Because is it possible?" And she goes, "Whatever you want." And I go, "Okay." And I'm like, "Okay." And I knew I only had one shot. I'm sure I have it saved. I can play for you. But it's like, and so when you call me, it's literally Millhouse, and it's beautiful. Is your voicemail something amazing?
No. My voicemail's the "you have reached." This is the voicemail that's on your phone.
Yeah.
Wait. So let me.
You want me to get it?
Oh, can you play it, or do you want me to call you?
No,
I can call you
get
on
it. I can
speakerphone.
literally. You can call me on speakerphone.
I'll call you on speakerphone.
You can't hear what my phone number is?
No.
Okay.
But just for anyone listening, it is 323.
Oh, crap. What's the longest one of these podcasts you've done?
About 2 hours, but that's a rare exception. Is that still your number?
Yeah, hit it.
Okay.
I'll hang up on you.
Please do.
I hope I didn't change it. That'd be really embarrassing. Oh, you want to hear my ringtone? This is for... You know what this is?
What game is it?
This is the original DuckTales video game. All right.
I don't think he's going to answer.
Hey, Benner's in here. But guess what? Everything's coming up Millhouse.
I mean, what more could you ask for?
Man, this is John Sternberger. I'm an attorney for the
shit.
Fox Network,
fuck.
we are citing
fuck.
copyright infringement over your outgoing voicemail. Please
shit.
call me at any of the numbers.
fuck.
954.
Shit.
Everything will not be coming up Millhouse when we see you in court.
Give me 1 second. I got a voicemail.
Oh, sure.
Oh, it hasn't come up yet. When it comes up, I'll...
Sure. Yeah, I mean, please feel free to take it.
Yeah.
But while your voicemail's coming up to see whatever that call might have been.
Sorry, I do have to take this. I'm so sorry.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Of course.
Man, this is John Sternberger.
Oh, no.
I'm an attorney for the Fox
sounds serious.
Network,
Oh, fuck.
and we are citing copyright infringement over your outgoing voicemail. Please call me at any of
You done did it.
Numbers 954.
Did you get that?
No, it's
Someone's freaking out in the background too.
I didn't hear, but he said his number was 952. Then it sounded like he was eating cottage cheese for the rest of the thing.
Oh yeah,
952,
yeah. He was probably eating cottage. They
makes
like to
sense.
eat a lot
Yeah,
of cottage
makes
cheese. Well, anyway, I'm sorry about the legal battle that it sounds like you're going to have.
Sorry.
But finally, I just would love to know what it is that you do when as someone who's attentive to detail and can get neurotic about details, when you're writing and then you just feel empty, or you can't crack a joke, or you can't crack a thing.
This is for writing a script?
Anything, whether it's writing a bit, a script, whatever it is.
I've learned a couple things. One, I used to, when I'm writing scripts, I've sold 5 movies to studios now. But when I used to write scripts, I would get to a part of it and get so stuck and get so pissed that I couldn't do it, that I'd spend so much time on that part, trying to make that part better or whatever. And what I've done recently, or the last script, or last couple scripts, when I get to that part in all caps and bold, I write something like, "You fucking idiot. You couldn't think of something here. Think of something better here. Move on. Don't think about this now. You'll think about it later." And so anytime I pass it, it makes me upset that I haven't done it, but it allows me to move on from that, keep writing the script, and know I have to get back to that moment.
You're hacking your brain, basically.
Yes. I would it would become a roadblock that was so big, so now it becomes like a little speed bump. You push yourself to write when you feel like you don't want to write, but also listen to yourself. If you're trying to write for a while and you just can't do it, take a fucking break. Sometimes your brain needs to chill. My friend had this great, Jesse Stern had this great line once. We're in a culture now that everything is ingested. Like you're on your phone and you're looking at tweets and you're just looking at tweets. And so he explained it as your brain is visually showing like cogs moving one way, right? This is you ingesting, and this is uploading, or whatever. And then when it's time for you to create, you can't just stop that and start writing immediately. Mm-hmm. He goes, there's going to be a second where you're looking at your screen and just like it's the cogs are slowly stopping that way.
Right.
And then slowly turning the other way. And I thought that was such a smart way of putting it, because don't get disappointed. We're ingesting shit so much at such a volume that don't get upset when you're looking at website, and then you're like, all right, time to write. And it takes a fucking couple minutes because your body has to get into that mood. Then you'll find that rhythm and then you'll hit it. Also, I've learned that shutting off Wi-Fi is a huge help in writing, because I will check my email every 2 minutes when I'm writing, and I'll stop my brain from thinking. But deadlines, give yourself deadlines, stuff like that. So, but I'll put some stuff in there that if I'm having roadblocks or something like that, I learn how to like move on from them. But also deadlines are big, and liking what you're writing. If you're writing something that you're like, ugh, this feels like a job, I'm not enjoying it, it becomes harder to get through as opposed to like, oh fuck, this is going to be fun. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I feel like the doing stuff you don't feel like doing is just good exercise.
Yeah.
Because it teaches you that sometimes you work on stuff that you're like, well, I just have to make this work somehow.
Well, so what you said at the beginning, you write 2 hours every day or something like that. So when I was freelancing jokes for Letterman, I had to buy a fax machine and fax them in. I'd wake up at 6 a.m. and every day allow myself have 45 minutes to an hour and have to write 15 jokes, no matter what.
Just based on the news? Or
Yes.
were you submitting top 10 list stuff? Or just
No,
like...
just the news. And I did it for Weekend Update also. So I'd read the articles of the day, and I'd make fun of them, and then think about how Letterman would make fun of them, and then think about how he's paying writers. I'm just a freelance guy, so I got to think of the shit that those guys aren't thinking of. So that really helped my brain think of different ways of making jokes.
Did you get a lot of stuff on?
Letterman, I got 21 jokes on, which is big for a little nickname.
Oh, that's awesome.
Weekend Update, I only got 2 jokes on my entire 2 years freelancing. And it was when Tina had a baby, so Horatio subbed in, and Horatio said my jokes.
Oh, that's great.
It was
What
great.
was the joke? Do you remember?
Yes, of course. One was, it was on the same show too, and I remember my sister married this wonderful guy who lived in Idaho, and we were in a hotel in Idaho, and I was in a room adjacent to my parents had a room, and I was in a room, like those hotel rooms that have the locks and you can go back and forth. And so I was watching SNL. I hadn't gotten a joke on, so I didn't think in a million years I'd get it on. And Horatio says one of the jokes. And I go, holy shit. And my parents hear me. They go, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I go, they just said my joke. And I jump up and down, and I hit the controller, and it shut off the TV.
No!
And so then I grab the controller, and I put it back on, and it goes to the fucking hotel menu screen.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, you got to go live TV, and you got to... And it was like... And by the second I got to the live TV, he was telling the end of my second joke.
Oh, that's great.
But one of the jokes was a recent study shows that having a clown... I'm not going to remember the exact wording, but a recent study shows that having a clown inside a hospital room actually raises children's morale and helps them heal better, proving that laughter is in fact the best medicine. Unless you have chemo, then you should get... unless you have cancer, then you should get chemo. And so it was a very fucked up joke.
Yeah.
And Horatio literally delivered it that way. He's like, unless you have cancer, then you should get chemo. And it's like... And the audience didn't know how to react. So it was like a fucked up joke. Yeah. And the audience, the reaction's unbelievable. They go, oh, and then there's a laugh. And you saw his face, this smirk that he pulled it off. And I could not believe that he took such a risky one. And then the other one was real fucked up also. And he did them both.
You know what? That's what's interesting though is that just the way that audience dynamics works.
Yeah.
Because they all feed off each other, and I feel like there's a couple of activators in different sections, and if because they're all kind of like, oh, do we all agree on this together? Yeah. And sometimes
is it okay to laugh?
And then it took a second. They're like, and then they were able to crest
great. Yeah.
That's great. Ben, I adore you, and please just come back to my house since it turns out you can walk.
By the way, yeah, I can't wait to. I mean, are we allowed to talk about what's in your house or no? Not really.
Sure.
I told you when I entered this house, this and Guillermo del Toro were the 2 houses I was most excited to step into. I've never been to Guillermo del Toro's house, but just seeing pictures of the stuff he has in his office, his house. But I obviously love Disneyland. I like Disney stuff, but also I love collecting cells, which you have. You have a Disneyland map. I have a Disneyland map, and just the stuff that you have in your house is like the memorabilia stuff it attacks
our Venn diagrams are very similar.
It was such a little nerd love fest.
I love your shirt. He's wearing a vintage Haunted Mansion shirt right now.
I found it in a vintage shop. It was so exciting for me, and it wasn't too expensive either.
Yeah, I'm as soon as you leave, I'm going to go Google vintage Haunted Mansion shirt, and I'm going to try to fucking find it.
It existed because it's Mickey going through the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah,
I'm very proud of it. Thank you very much for having me, and what a fun time. We don't get to talk very often.
No, we don't, and so now we should do it on purpose. Not doing a podcast too whenever you have time, and also I encourage you to go to different Disneylands because they are all, it's like stepping into a parallel dimension because they are all similar, but obviously.
Do you have a favorite?
I have favorite elements about each. Disneyland to me is always going to be my favorite.
Yeah.
Nothing against the other ones, but it's the one that Walt imagined, and
he has his office there.
To me, they have the most attention to detail is there. Disney World is great, but it also kind of feels like how many people can we possibly cram into these spaces? It's like it's much wider, and there's 4 parks. Disneyland Paris was interesting because it was just like seeing a different world, like they've translated rides differently that I guess are more.
Yeah.
Like they love roller coasters there, so their Space Mountain is more of a true roller coaster as opposed to like a bobsled, which Disneyland is. And they like to like send you backwards through the dark is a thing that their roller coasters like to do there. Their Space Mountain is Jules Verne themed, and inside is Star Wars themed. So it's like this weird mashup.
Did you do the Ratatouille ride?
We did the Ratatouille ride, which I
Giacchino did music for that. I got to watch him make that music for the ride because I love Ratatouille, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to come see?" And I love his music in Ratatouille. His music in Ratatouille is unbelievable.
It's incredible.
So I got to watch his whole orchestra.
And I think Rise of the Resistance has the basic principle of the Ratatouille ride, which is that free roaming.
Don't you dare ruin it for me. Have you done it yet?
No.
Okay.
But it's my guess.
When are you going?
I'm guessing the Resistance
Didn't it just
is going to
open?
rise. It opened on the 17th of January.
Do you think that the Resistance will rise? Or
They might. Yeah. Or maybe they're going to try. I don't.
They've got to try.
Yeah.
And I bet there's some people that can stop it.
They could. But in the end, I feel like the Rebels are going to triumph.
Ugh, no spoilers.
It's very possible. By the way, one quick thing about. I have so much respect for.
One quick thing about Rebels.
One quick thing about Star Wars movies. About Giacchino is he's obviously like one of the most brilliant songwriters in the history of songwriting. But my favorite thing he's ever done was the theme to Lost, because it's literally one note, and he must have gotten so much money just to go. Like that's it. And I have always adored that. Where just like the letters are coming full at the screen. And maybe he tried like a more intense, we're lost, the plane crashed on the island, what's with the polar bear, or whatever. But it just sort of landed on, and he got paid like the fucking rate.
We have rejected themes. Him and I did 2 videos on YouTube because he loves comedy stuff, and one of them was Star Wars, I think. And one of them was Jaws, where we went when he had. One of them was when he was doing an actual orchestra thing. But if you go online, I think they're still online. Rejected themes with me and Giacchino. He's the best. Surely you met him.
I don't think I've ever met him.
He's the best.
I need to meet him.
He's brilliant. It's insane to me that he's such a kind, cool dude, and then also he happens to be an actual prodigy. Like he's unbelievable what he does. He's one of 3 people in the universe that can do it to his level. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to redo the theme of E.T. to say, don't ask Spielberg to touch the tip of your finger, because he won't do it.
Oh my God, but that doesn't even sound like the theme to E.T. at all.
Ouch
Like
is what you're going to feel in your soul.
It barely sounds like anything. You know E.T. You know that's not what the theme sounds like at all. You're singing some sort of weird, like, all right.
It's never going to happen in
sounds
real
like a
life.
Chicago song. Okay, you're bringing in other horns.
Touching Spielberg on the hand.
No. That's Michael McDonald now. You don't even know what world you're in anymore.
I don't want to touch Spielberg with a finger.
God.
He ain't gonna do it. He ain't gonna touch your finger.
Chris.
What?
You nailed it.
Hey, come on.
You nailed that impression.
I did okay.
Yeah, you did great.
For a riff about Michael McDonald singing about "Don't try to touch Spielberg's finger like E.T." That's got to be the top
what a
one.
Paris roller coaster we just went on in the dark.
Backwards in the dark.
You have to. That's what the name of this podcast title should be. Backwards in the dark.
The end.
ID10T scanning complete. Enjoy your burrito.